Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. She changed my 16-year-old's Instagram bio to Sugar Princess and used my credit card to buy her nightclub dresses. When I confronted her, still holding the damn receipt in my hand, she didn't flinch. She just smirked and said, "You don't understand how a real woman networks." That was the moment I felt something inside me crack. This morning, Anya's photos were trending with a stranger's handle tagged in every single one. Her eyeliner too sharp, heels too high, and that same dress I never would have let her wear. I'm going more than just nuclear. 6 years after our baby girl was born, my wife, Anya's mother, was sitting on a bus that crashed into a pole. Because of where she was seated, she was the only one who didn't make it. Every other person survived, not her. Since that day, I swore I wouldn't date again until Anya was older. I knew I had to be the one to hear about her first period, her first real crush, her first heartbreak. I owed her that much. So, by the time she turned 14, we were more like best friends than anything else. She'd watch old movies with me and roll her eyes at my dad jokes, but always laugh anyway. I never had to tell her to do anything more than once. She was responsible, kind, thoughtful. Honestly, sometimes it felt like she was my role model. Then came Valeria. She was the kind of woman who laughed at your joke when no one else in the room even smiled. Loud, unapologetic, and magnetic in a way I hadn't felt in years. When I realized I had a crush on her, I got scared. Not because of her, but because of Anya. I didn't want to bring someone into our world if it wasn't going to work out. I didn't want to confuse Anya or make her feel like she was being replaced. So, I decided to take things slow, carefully, privately. We went on one date a week, always keeping it quiet. She already knew about Anya from the photo frame I kept on my desk at work, the one with Anya in a flower crown, age 7, smiling so wide it made my heart ache. On our 1-year anniversary, I finally sat Anya down. "I need to tell you something," I began, nerves coiling in my stomach. She looked up from her laptop and raised an eyebrow. "It's Valeria, right?" she said. I blinked. "No effing shot, Dad. You're really terrible at hiding things from me." I burst out laughing. The relief I felt in that moment, I could have cried. The next week, we hosted a barbecue and invited Valeria over. They hit it off immediately. Valeria complimented Anya's vintage band t-shirt. Joy Division? Hell yes. That's a real classic. Anya beamed. Most people at school have never even heard of them. And just like that, they were in a deep conversation about music I'd never heard of. It felt easy, natural, like maybe I could actually do this, balance fatherhood and love, without letting anyone down. On our 2-year anniversary, the month was filled with cardboard boxes and moving vans. Valeria moved in with us. The first week was amazing. Anya had someone to complain about period cramps with. I'd hear them laughing behind closed doors, late into the night. It felt like we were becoming a family. But then, one Friday, everything changed. I came home from work and found Anya in her room, door locked, music blasting. Usually, it was the Arctic Monkeys, Tame Impala, her classics. But this time, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B. When she finally came down for dinner, I barely recognized her. My sweet Anya, she didn't even look like herself. Her face was caked in heavy makeup, dark smoky eyes that swallowed her natural warmth, lips painted a bright, jarring red, and foundation so thick it looked like a mask. My baby girl wasn't there anymore. Sitting across the table, she wore a dress so short she had to keep shifting awkwardly, tugging at the hem every time she moved. "What's with the new look?" I asked, forcing a light tone into my voice, trying not to let the panic crawl up my throat. She just shrugged and kept eating. Valeria and I exchanged glances. A silent question passed between us. Should we say something? But we didn't. Teenagers experiment, right? Except this didn't stop. It didn't even slow down. Anya started getting dress-coded at school nearly every day. Every morning, it was a new argument about leggings that were too tight or tops that showed too much skin. Then one afternoon, I caught a package in the mail. I only opened it because it had no return label and looked suspicious. Inside was lace. Red lace. Victoria's Secret. The receipt said $300. I knew that was all her saved-up birthday money. On that. Then the boys started showing up. First it was Jake from her math class. Then Tyler from the debate team. At first, Anya told me, "We're just friends, Dad. Don't be weird." And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But they wouldn't come to the door. They'd sit in their cars and honk. At my house. "This isn't like her," I said one night, pacing the living room while Valeria sat on the couch, rubbing her temples. "Something's wrong." Valeria let out a long sigh. "She's 16. This is what 16-year-olds do. She's testing boundaries. She's growing up." I nodded slowly, pretending I agreed. But my gut said otherwise. Anya wasn't acting like a teenager finding herself. She was unraveling. This wasn't rebellion. It was something else. She had gone from my best friend to a stranger I barely recognized. Then, one night, everything snapped into place. It was 2 a.m. I was fast asleep when I heard the front door creak open. I sat up, heart pounding. My first instinct was burglar, but when I peeked out the window, I saw Anya slipping into the passenger seat of a car I didn't recognize. I didn't even bother putting on pants. I grabbed my keys and followed. They drove to a quieter part of town, not dangerous, but dim, no streetlights, just stretches of road and empty sidewalks. I kept my headlights off, keeping a safe distance. Then I saw it. A man got out of the driver's seat. He looked like he could be in his 40s. He walked around the car, opened the door for Anya, and then he leaned in to kiss her. My jaw dropped. I swear I heard the sound it made as it hit metaphorical concrete. I jumped out of the car. "Hey!" I roared, running toward them, fists clenched, every muscle in my body ready to turn him into pulp. I saw red, pure, unfiltered rage. "Dad, what are you doing?" Anya's voice rang out, sharp with panic. I didn't stop. I reached the guy, but before I could swing, Anya jumped on my back, dragging me away. "Dad, stop! Get off of him!" I stumbled back, chest heaving, heart splitting in half. She was crying now. Her whole body shook as she yelled, "Dad, I thought this is what you wanted." I froze. She collapsed next to me on the sidewalk, and even though I was still on fire inside, I instinctively reached out and stroked her hair. That same hair I used to braid when she was little. That same girl I used to read bedtime stories to. That man, had already driven off. "Now that you have Valeria," she choked, "you don't need me anymore." She sniffled, her voice breaking. I was just trying to find a new man to take care of me when I turned 18. I stared at her, blank, numb, unsure if this was a lie to get out of trouble or something far more real. But then she continued, "It's what Valeria told me to do." Anya whispered, her voice so small it nearly disappeared into the night air. "Honey, I could have all the gold in the world and I would still need you." That broke me. I held her tighter, let her cry, let her shake. Once she finally believed me, believed that I hadn't replaced her, hadn't stopped loving her, I ordered her an Uber to my mom's house. There was no way I could drive safely after hearing that. Not with my blood boiling and my thoughts spinning. When I got home, Valeria was already awake, waiting at the door. She draped herself over me like nothing was wrong, her lips brushing my neck. "Missed you," she purred. I kissed her back. I wanted Valeria in prison, but I knew I needed a confession first. Evidence. Something that would hold up in court. I couldn't just throw accusations around and risk losing on you again. No, I needed to be smart. So I played along, even as every nerve in my body recoiled at her touch. Already, in my mind, I was building the fortress that would keep Anya safe from this woman forever. I smiled. I nodded. I pretended. The next morning, I kept the act going. I told Valeria that Anya had gotten sick while staying at a friend's house. My mom picked her up. Just figured it'd be better if she rested over there for a bit. Valeria didn't blink. "Ah, poor thing. Should I make some chicken soup for when she gets back?" I forced a chuckle. "That'd be sweet. I'll let you know." As soon as she left for work, I called in sick. Spent the entire day setting up recording apps on my phone, 3 different ones, just to be safe. Audio logs, call recorders, background mics. I wasn't taking any chances. Then I called my mom. I told her everything. She was furious. "I'm coming over. Right now. I'm going to give that woman a piece of my damn." "Mom, no," I said firmly. "I need Anya to stay with you for a few weeks. Please. I need time to get proof." She calmed down. Barely. But she agreed. That first week? Torture. I had to kiss Valeria goodbye every morning. Eat dinner with her every night. Share a bed with someone who had manipulated my daughter into thinking she was disposable. But I kept the recorders running. Every conversation. Every phone call. I acted like I wasn't paying attention. And pretty soon, she started slipping. It was Tuesday night. She was slicing into a chicken breast with a little too much force. "When's Anya coming home?" she asked casually. "I miss our girl talks." I wiped my mouth, keeping my expression neutral. Still under the weather. Might be mono. Valeria's face twitched, just for a second. "That's such a shame," she said, a little too coolly. "I was going to take her shopping this weekend. Help her pick out some new outfits for school." I forced myself to smile. "Yeah, she mentioned you've been helping with her wardrobe." Her eyes lit up like I'd just handed her a compliment wrapped in gold. "She has such potential, you know?" Valeria said, still cutting her chicken like it had personally offended her. With the right clothes, the right attitude, she could have any man wrapped around her finger. She leaned in slightly, voice lowering, like she was about to share a sacred secret. "It's important for girls to learn their power early." I kept my voice casual, masking the bile rising in my throat. What kind of power? I asked, tilting my head like I was curious. Valeria leaned in, her voice dropping like she was about to share state secrets. The power of being a woman, she said, smiling faintly. Men will do anything for a beautiful young woman who knows how to present herself. I'm just teaching her to use what God gave her. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might be sick right there at the table. But I nodded, eyes wide like I was buying it. And you think that's good for her? I asked. Of course, she said without hesitation. You don't want her ending up like those feminist girls, do you? All angry and alone. She laughed softly, as if the idea of an independent woman was some kind of joke. No, she went on. Anya's smart. She knows her looks won't last forever. Better to find someone established now, someone who can take care of her. My grip tightened around the fork in my hand. I could feel the metal strain. I wanted to slam it into the table, or through her lies. Someone older, you mean? I asked, my voice low even. She shrugged, sipping her wine. Age is just a number. Maturity is what matters. And successful men, they know how to treat a woman right. Not like these broke college boys who just want one thing. That night, I sat in my car with the recording, listening to it 5 times, maybe more. Every syllable, every smug pause, every red flag. But I knew one conversation wasn't going to be enough. Not for a court, not for custody, not for justice. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. And what I found chilled me more than anything she had said at that table. I noticed her laptop was always open to Anya's social media accounts. Instagram, Snapchat, even her email. Pages left up just long enough for me to glimpse them before she'd slam the screen shut. And then there was the phone. Not her usual one, but a second phone. A cheap one, burner style. She kept it hidden, but I saw her with it one morning, fingers flying across the screen, quickly deleting something the second she heard the water stop in the shower. Thursday night, I pretended to fall asleep early, turned the lights off, rolled onto my side. I waited. Sure enough, just after 10 p.m., I heard her in the bathroom. The fan clicked on, but she didn't realize the door didn't fully latch. No, she's still at her grandmother's, she whispered. I held my breath. I know, baby. I miss you too. Just a few more weeks. Yes, I'm working on it. He has no idea. Of course I'll visit soon. Baby. My blood turned to ice. Who the hell was she talking to? Who was baby? And why did she sound so certain that I was clueless? Friday I left work early. Told my boss I had a dentist appointment. Instead, I parked a block away and waited. Around 2 p.m., Valeria left the house. I tailed her across town to a storage unit complex. Watched her from a distance as she entered one of the units and came out 20 minutes later carrying a cardboard box. I beat her home, planted myself on the couch with my laptop open, pretending to work. She walked in and froze, just for a heartbeat, but quickly slipped back into character. Hey babe, grocery shopping took forever. I glanced over at her empty hands. No bags. No receipt. Nothing. Traffic? I asked. She smiled. Awful. Later, I heard the click of the lock as she shut our bedroom door. That weekend was rough. I was hanging by a thread, trying to maintain the mask while prying for information, anything that would help. Over dinner, during slow afternoons, I asked little things. Casual. So, you ever been married? God, no, she laughed. Serious relationships? A few. Where's your family from? Are you close to them? Where'd you work before we met? I needed to know everything I could about her past, her family, her job history. She was vague about everything. Anytime I asked real questions about her past, her family, her job history, she dodged. Changed the subject. Giggled. Touched my arm. It was like trying to catch smoke with my bare hands. Then came Sunday night. The mistake. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, something mindless, some crime drama rerun, when her second phone buzzed on the coffee table. I wasn't even looking for it, but she snatched it up so fast it caught my attention. For half a second before she tilted it away, I saw the caller ID. My sweet Anya. My stomach twisted. My vision tunneled. She'd been in contact with Anya this whole time. I sat there, face frozen, eyes fixed on the television as if nothing had changed. But everything had. She stood up. I'll just take this in the kitchen, she said casually, already walking away. I could hear her whispering, the fan over the stove humming in the background. Words floated through. Patience, trust me, your dad just doesn't understand. So all this time, while I thought I was protecting Anya by keeping her away, Valeria had still been in her ear, painting me as the villain. Monday morning, I called my mom. Anya was okay, she said. Moody, quiet, always on her phone. She's been asking when she can come home, Mom said. Something in her tone gave me pause. If you get the chance, I told her, can you maybe check Anya's texts? Just in case. That afternoon, Mom called me back. Her voice was tight, panicked. She's been texting someone named V. hundreds of messages. This woman is telling her you're trying to control her, that you're jealous of her growing up. She's filling her head with poison. I gripped the phone so hard. Can you screenshot everything? I asked. Email it all to me. When the messages came through, I had to stop halfway through. I felt sick. Physically ill. Valeria had been working from the inside out, turning Anya against me slowly, methodically, telling her I was old-fashioned, possessive, that I was trying to keep her a little girl forever, that she deserved a man who would appreciate her, take care of her, buy her nice things. But it got worse. Valeria was coaching Anya, teaching her how to flirt with older men, how to act interested, but not too eager, how to make them feel important. She had even sent her links to dating sites, sugar baby sites. Tuesday, I couldn't take it anymore. But I didn't confront her outright. Just dipped my toe in, testing the waters. Hey, I said over dinner, keeping my tone light. I noticed Anya's been texting someone a lot lately. Valeria didn't flinch. Oh, probably just her friends. You know how teenage girls are with their phones. I raised an eyebrow. My mom said it seemed like an adult, like someone giving her advice. Still, her expression didn't change. That's concerning, she said, slicing her roast chicken neatly. You don't think she's talking to strangers online, do you? I've heard about predators targeting young girls. The irony nearly made me choke. She was the predator. She was the one grooming Anya, and now she was pretending to be worried about it? Wednesday, things escalated. I came home to find her rifling through my desk drawers. She jerked upright when she heard me at the door. Looking for stamps, she said quickly, waving an empty envelope. Right. She was getting suspicious. She must have sensed I was pulling away, watching her more closely. That night, she was extra affectionate. Made my favorite dinner, lasagna from scratch. Wore the perfume I'd complimented once, months ago. Long day, she asked softly, wrapping her arms around me. Yeah, I said. Exhausting. She kissed me behind the ear and whispered, you deserve to relax. But behind those soft touches and lingering stares, I could see the calculation. She was trying to distract me, soften me, make me lower my guard. Thursday morning, I woke up feeling off. Not sick exactly, just fuzzy, like my brain was wrapped in cotton. My limbs heavy, sluggish. I went through my routine like I was underwater. By the time I got to work, I could barely keep my eyes open. Meetings blurred together. Words didn't stick. It happened again Friday, and again on Monday, always after my morning coffee. The same coffee Valeria lovingly brought me every day, freshly brewed, a touch of cinnamon, just the way I liked it. She'd place it on my nightstand, lean over, and kiss my forehead. Take your time getting ready. Tuesday morning, I took the coffee like usual, smiled, said thanks, even kissed her cheek. Then I waited until her back was turned and poured the contents into a travel mug I'd stashed in my briefcase. I didn't say a word. Drove straight to my buddy who worked in a lab. Taste test. I joked, handing over the mug. I think someone at work might be messing with me. He raised an eyebrow, but nodded. I'll get you the results. Thursday, he called. Sedatives, he said. Nothing lethal or permanent in small doses, but enough to make someone feel out of it. Drowsy. Disoriented. She'd been drugging me. For weeks. I wanted to call the police right then and there. But what exactly did I have? A few recordings that a lawyer could call vague. Some texts that could be interpreted 10 different ways. Coffee I'd contaminated by transferring it to my own mug. Not exactly a rock-solid case. Friday, I made a decision. I've got to go out of town for work. I told Valeria casually over breakfast. Won't be back until late Sunday. She smiled. Actually smiled. Probably thought she'd just been handed the weekend to reel Anya back in without me interfering. But I didn't leave town. I drove straight to my mom's house. Anya was in her room. When I knocked on her door and stepped inside, she was standing by the window, arms crossed. Her eyes narrowed. What are you doing here? She asked, voice cold. I needed to see you. I said quietly, stepping inside. Make sure you're okay. She rolled her eyes hard. I'm fine. Just trapped at Grandma's because you're being paranoid. I sat on the edge of her bed, took a breath. Anya, I know you've been texting Valeria. Her face flushed with color. So, she's the only one who understands me. You just want to control everything I do. That's not true, and you know it. It is, she snapped. You freaked out because I was on a date, Dad. A date. I'm 16, not 6. He was 40 years old, Anya. She looked away, jaw tightening. Age doesn't matter when you really connect with someone. I felt the air leave my lungs. That wasn't her. That was Valeria. Quietly, I pulled out my phone. Scrolled to the recording. Hit play. Valeria's voice filled the room, smooth, syrupy, deliberate. She has such potential, with the right clothes, the right attitude. She could have any man wrapped around her finger. It's important for girls to learn their power early. Anya's expression slowly shifted, from defiant to confused. Her arms uncrossed. She said she was helping me. That you'd never let me grow up. I leaned forward. Honey, I want you to grow up, but at your own pace, making your own choices, not being pushed into things you're not ready for. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, softly, she whispered. She said, you were replacing me, that once you had her, you wouldn't need a daughter anymore. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. Never, I said. You're my whole world, kid. Nothing changes that. We talked for hours. I told her everything, about the drugged coffee, the second phone, the lies. All of it. By the end, she was crying. I'm so stupid, she kept saying, shaking her head. I can't believe I fell for it. You're not stupid, I told her gently. She's a master manipulator. She knew exactly what to say to get into your head. That weekend, we made a plan. Anya would come home, pretend everything was fine, that she still trusted Valeria, maybe even get her to say things on record. Meanwhile, I'd keep collecting evidence. Monday morning, I brought Anya home. Valeria was all smiles and sugary hugs. I missed you, baby girl, she said, pulling Anya into her arms. I watched them closely. The way Valeria touched her arm, leaned in too close, whispered too softly. All the subtle cues of a predator trying to rebuild the web. That night at dinner, Anya played her part perfectly. Ugh, I thought I was going to lose my mind at Grandma's, she said, stabbing at her mashed potatoes. I'm so glad to be home, where people understand me. Valeria ate it up. Every word. At dinner, Anya laid it on thick, and Valeria just glowed, like she'd won. She kept shooting me these smug, triumphant looks when she thought I wasn't paying attention, like she'd already reclaimed her influence over my daughter. I clenched my jaw and kept my expression neutral. Stick to the plan. Tuesday, things took a turn. I came home early from work and found them in Anya's room. Valeria was holding up a dress I'd never seen before, bright red, short, with cutouts in all the wrong places. I saved this for you, she said sweetly, her voice warm and encouraging. I knew your dad wouldn't approve, but you're old enough to make your own choices about what to wear. Anya glanced at me when I stepped into the room. I gave her a nod. She didn't break character. The dress looked more appropriate for a nightclub than a 16-year-old's closet. My fists balled at my sides, but I bit my tongue. I had to. We were almost there. Wednesday night, Valeria made her move. It was late, past bedtime, when I heard hushed voices coming from Anya's room. I crept down the hallway and pressed my ear to the door. She's playing along, I reminded myself. She's ready. Inside, Valeria's voice was low but coaxing. He's very successful, she said. Owns several businesses. He saw your picture and thinks you're beautiful. Very mature for your age. There was a pause. Then Anya, perfectly uncertain. I don't know. My dad would freak out. Your dad doesn't have to know, Valeria whispered quickly. I'll cover for you. Say we're having a girls' night. He trusts me. I had to back away. Had to physically remove myself before I kicked the door in and ruined everything. Thursday morning, I was rifling through our old filing cabinet, still searching for something, anything, that might give me more leverage. That's when I found it. A folder wedged behind old tax returns and warranty papers, tucked away like a secret. Inside were clippings from newspapers, printed emails, photos. At first I didn't understand what I was looking at, until I saw the names. Robert from Michigan. His daughter Emma. Gone at 17. The article mentioned a woman named Victoria who had been living with them. Then James from Ohio. His daughter Brittany had filed a restraining order against a woman named Valeria. I flipped through the photos. Different hairstyles, different wardrobes, different states. But it was her. No doubt. Valeria, Violet, had done this before. Multiple times. I photocopied every page, every image, and stashed the copies at my office. Then, finally, I did what I should have done months ago. I hired a private investigator. By Friday, he called me back with everything. Valeria's real name was Violet Morgan. She had a record: fraud, identity theft, solicitation. Had served 2 years in minimum security, got out 3 years ago, and since then had bounced from state to state, always targeting single fathers. But the worst part? She wasn't working alone. The investigator found consistent connections to a man named Malcolm Wade. Late 40s. Multiple arrests for soliciting minors. Currently out on parole. Every city she'd lived in, he'd been there too. I felt sick. This wasn't just manipulation. It wasn't about money. This was trafficking. Valeria, was grooming girls. My daughter. For him. I called the investigator back, heart pounding. Find everything you can on Malcolm Wade. Address, employer, vehicle. I think he's the guy I saw in the Mercedes. Saturday morning. Valeria came downstairs, all breezy confidence. We're going shopping, she announced, tossing her keys in the air. Girl time, she added, winking at me. We'll be gone all day. I forced a smile. Have fun. As soon as the door closed behind them, I started tearing the house apart. Top to bottom. I checked every drawer, every cabinet, every suitcase. Then, in the back of the closet, tucked inside an old shoebox, I found it. Her second phone. It was locked, but I'd seen her type the passcode enough times. I held my breath. Entered it. It unlocked. What I saw made me want to throw up. There were texts to Malcolm. Dozens of them. Descriptions of Anya. Updates. Almost ready. Worth the wait. Like she was prepping a shipment. Like Anya was a product. There were messages to other men too, discussing prices, preferences. And then, messages to Anya. Hundreds of them. The messages to Anya were the worst. Valeria kept telling her she was special, mature, deserving of so much more than this boring suburban life. Slowly, methodically, she was poisoning her. Not just against me, but against school, against safety, against herself. Twisting everything that gave Anya stability into something oppressive and outdated. I screenshot every message, every thread. Then I sent them, to myself, to my mom, to the investigator. Then I put the phone back exactly where I found it, nestled in the shoebox, tucked behind a stack of winter boots. They came home around 6. Anya had shopping bags dangling from both arms, but her eyes didn't light up like they used to when we went out together. She looked uncomfortable, stiff. Our eyes met across the kitchen, and she gave the smallest shake of her head. Something had happened. After dinner, Anya lingered. "Hey, can you help me with homework?" she asked casually, already grabbing her backpack. "Of course," I said. Upstairs, once her bedroom door was shut, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. "She took me to meet him," Anya whispered. "The man from that night." My blood froze. "Malcolm." She nodded. Said it was an accident. That we just ran into him at the mall. But it wasn't. It was planned. She unlocked her phone and tapped the screen. The recording started. Malcolm's voice, oily, rehearsed. "You're even prettier than your pictures," he said. Valeria laughed in the background. "Say thank you, sweetheart." Then Malcolm again. "We should all have dinner sometime soon. Maybe when Dad's out of town." Anya's voice trembled. I wanted to run. He kept looking at me like I was something he wanted to buy. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. "You did great," I said softly. "This is exactly what we needed." But Valeria was growing impatient. Sunday night she was tense, snapping at every little thing. A dish left in the sink. The way I folded the towels. Even the way Anya chewed her food. She could feel it, something shifting. She knew I was onto her. But she couldn't pin it. So she pushed harder. The sedatives in my coffee? They were getting stronger. More bitter. Heavier. But I kept pretending to drink them. Kept acting groggy. Let her think she was winning. Then Monday, everything exploded. I came home from work to find her sobbing on the couch. Full-on performance, mascara streaks, trembling hands, tissue clutched dramatically. I paused in the doorway. "What's wrong?" She looked up at me, eyes red, voice cracking. "I can't do this anymore. The lies, the sneaking around. I know you know." My heart stopped. "Know what?" "About my past," she sniffled. "The things I've done. I'm not proud of it, but I'm trying to change. That's why I fell in love with you, with this family. You made me want to be better." It was a solid performance. A few weeks ago, I might have bought it. But now I knew better. I walked over, sat beside her, let her cry on my shoulder. "Everyone deserves a second chance," I murmured. She looked up, eyes wide with fragile hope. "Really? You're not going to throw me out?" I swallowed bile and nodded. "Let's talk about it," I said gently. "Tell me everything." And she did. Or at least, her version. She told me how she'd made mistakes, got caught up with bad people. How prison wasn't really her fault. How she was just trying to survive. How meeting me had been her turning point. Not one word about the other families. Not a syllable about Malcolm. Nothing about what she was doing to Anya. I nodded along. Made the right sounds. Said I needed time to process. Told her I loved her. The relief on her face made me want to throw a chair through the window. Tuesday, she was back to her usual self. Cheerful. Touchy. Smirking like she'd won. But she was slipping. Growing overconfident. That morning, while she showered, she left her laptop open. I grabbed my phone so fast I nearly dropped it, hands trembling, adrenaline pounding in my ears. I didn't have time to think. I just started snapping pictures of everything I could see on her open laptop. There were email exchanges with Malcolm, cold, clinical messages that talked about delivery windows and final pricing. I found a folder full of images, not just Anya, but other girls. Young girls, posing in ways that made my stomach turn. Some of them looked drugged. Blank stares, confused expressions. This wasn't a scheme. This was organized. Industrial. Monstrous. Then I found the calendar. Dozens of dates marked with vague initials and short notes, but one stood out. This Saturday, circled in red. Next to it, confirmed. My chest tightened. That was only 4 days away. Wednesday, I sat down with the investigator and a lawyer, laid out everything. Phone photos, screenshots, Anya's recordings, the folder with the other families, everything on Valeria's laptop. The lawyer looked grim. This is enough for a restraining order. Maybe charges too, he said. But we have to play it smart. If she gets wind of this, if she warns Malcolm, they'll vanish. The investigator nodded, tapping his pen on the table. We need to isolate Malcolm first. He's the key. So we made a plan. Friday night, Valeria thought I was going to a work dinner. She'd think she had the house to herself, think she was in control. But while she played her game, the police would arrest Malcolm, parole violations, evidence tampering, anything the investigator had dug up that could hold. With Malcolm in custody, we'd have leverage, something to make Valeria talk. But Valeria, she wasn't slowing down either. Thursday morning, she was practically glowing. She made a full breakfast, pancakes, bacon, fresh strawberries. Anya's favorite. She even dusted the pancakes with powdered sugar like she used to on holidays. I didn't touch a bite until I watched her serve herself from the same plates. No switching. No coffee refills. I wasn't taking any chances. She smiled across the table like none of this was happening. I was thinking, she said, all casual, sipping orange juice. Maybe this weekend, we could take a little family trip. Just the three of us. Start fresh. Anya and I locked eyes. Where? I asked, forcing my tone to stay even. There's this cute little bed and breakfast a few hours north, she said. Very secluded. Romantic. She leaned closer. We could reconnect. You know, away from all the stress. Secluded. No neighbors. No cell towers. No help. Sounds nice, I said, keeping my voice light. Let me check my work schedule. That night, I kept my phone close. Valeria's second phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She'd sneak off to the bathroom, the laundry room, even the garage. Every time she came back, she looked more frustrated. I caught one whisper as she passed by the kitchen. He's not stupid. We need more time. Friday morning came like a glacier, slow, heavy, impossible to escape. I hadn't really slept. Kept getting up to check Anya's door. Made sure it was locked. Made sure she was still there. Downstairs, Valeria had the coffee waiting. She brought it to me in bed like nothing was wrong. Gave me that smile. Have a good day, baby, she said, leaning in for a long kiss. Tonight's going to be special. I pretended to sip the coffee. Let it sit heavy in my hand like it was working. Then I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and left like always. But I didn't go to work. I circled back and parked 2 houses down, just out of sight. The investigator was already there in an unmarked car, sunglasses on, scanning the house. We waited. Around noon, the front door opened. Valeria stepped out, dragging a suitcase. She glanced up and down the street, then popped the trunk and loaded it in. Then she went back inside, and came out again with another. She wasn't waiting until Saturday. She was running. The investigator pulled out his phone, dialing quickly. I'm calling my police contact, change of plans. They needed to move now. But when the police got to Malcolm's apartment, he was already gone. The neighbor said he'd left in a hurry that morning, shoving bags into his Mercedes like the place was on fire. My heart sank. I immediately called Anya's school, my fingers trembling on the keypad. When the office picked up, I tried to stay calm. Yes, this is Nico Carter, Anya Carter's father. There's a family emergency. No one, absolutely no one, is authorized to pick her up but me. They confirmed she was in class. Safe. For now. I exhaled, barely, and sped home. When I got there, Valeria was already back. The suitcases? Gone. Her face lit up, like nothing had happened. You're home early, she said, but her eyes didn't quite meet mine. I shrugged. Wasn't feeling well. That coffee this morning hit different. She frowned, stepping closer, pressing the back of her hand to my forehead. You do feel warm. Why don't you go lie down? I'll bring you some soup. I nodded and went upstairs, but I didn't lie down. I dialed the lawyer instead. She's back, I whispered. Malcolm is gone. She tried to flee this morning. I think it's happening tonight. He was silent for a beat. Then, stick to the plan. Act normal. We're tracking Malcolm Carr. We'll find him. But I knew Valeria. She was impatient. Unraveling. She wouldn't wait. I grabbed my phone and texted Anya. Go to Grace's after school. Say you're sleeping over. Do not come home. No matter what. At around 4 p.m., I heard her again, Valeria, in the kitchen, her voice low and sharp. Tonight. Yes, I'm sure. He's practically unconscious. Bring the van. My blood turned to ice. I hit record on my phone and tucked it into my pocket. Then I did something stupid. I marched straight into the kitchen where she was chopping carrots, her back to me. I know everything. She froze, knife in hand. What are you talking about? Malcolm. The other families. What you're planning for Anya. For a second, her mask slipped. And there she was. Not the charming, laughing woman I'd once dated, but cold. Calculating. Dangerous. Then she smiled. You're confused, baby. The sedatives can cause paranoia. Why don't you sit down? I haven't been drinking the coffee, Valeria. Or should I say, Violet? The knife clattered to the counter. How long? She asked, voice flat. Weeks. I have recordings. Photos. Everything. The police are already looking for Malcolm. She laughed. A sharp, unhinged sound. You think you're so smart. Just another pathetic single dad who can't see what's right in front of him. What's that supposed to mean? She stepped closer, eyes gleaming with cruel delight. Anya came to me. You idiot. She wanted this. Wanted someone to show her how to use what she has. You think she's your innocent little girl? She's been sneaking out for months. I just helped her find better options than the losers at school. You're lying. Am I? She smirked. Check her room. Check under her mattress. I didn't move. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. She stepped even closer, her voice dropping into a venomous whisper. You have no idea what girls her age are really like. What they want. I was just giving her what she asked for. You were grooming her. Selling her. I was teaching her to survive. In a world that eats little girls alive. She tilted her head. Would you rather she learn from me, or from someone who actually wants to hurt her? You mean like Malcolm? I said, my voice low. Her eye twitched. Malcolm is a businessman, she replied tightly. He takes care of his girls. His girls. I echoed, fury bubbling up in my throat. How many others, Valeria? She shrugged, like it was nothing. Does it matter? They all wanted it. Wanted nice things, older men, excitement. I just facilitated. I kept the recording going. Let her talk. Let her bury herself. And the other families? Robert? James? Her lips curled into a smirk. Weak men. Couldn't accept that their daughters were growing up. At least you lasted longer than most. Where's Malcolm now? She smiled. Closer than you think. That's when I heard it, the front door creaking open. Heavy footsteps. Malcolm walked into the kitchen like he owned the place. Well, he said, taking in the scene. This is awkward. I reached for my phone instinctively, but Valeria was faster. She smacked it out of my hand, and it clattered across the tile floor, skittering just out of reach. Now what? I asked, trying to stay calm, eyes bouncing between them. Malcolm pulled out a gun. He didn't raise it, just held it, letting the weight of it settle in the room. Now, he said, you're going to call your daughter. Tell her to come home. No. He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. I don't think you understand. This is happening whether you cooperate or not. But if you play nice, maybe you get to see her graduate. Walk her down the aisle someday. Be a grandfather. Over my dead body. That can be arranged, Valeria said coldly. But she'd slipped. My phone was still recording from where it had landed across the floor. And Anya, she was safe. Because I'd sent her to Grace's house. And Grace's mom, a 911 dispatcher. She's not coming, I said, locking eyes with Malcolm. I told her to stay away. His jaw clenched. Then we go get her. Good luck with that. I told the school no one but me could pick her up. And she's not there anyway. Valeria grabbed her keys, already moving toward the door. I know where she is. That little friend's house. Grace something. My blood turned to ice. How did you? I've been tracking her phone for months, she said, reading the horror on my face. Did you really think I'd leave anything to chance? They both moved for the door, Malcolm keeping the gun loosely trained on me. I had seconds. I couldn't let them reach Anya. So I charged. Stupid? Yes. Suicidal? Probably. But I didn't care. We slammed into the counter, the gun flying from his grip and clattering across the floor. You son of a... Valeria shrieked, jumped on my back, clawing and punching. I shoved her off, just enough to land a punch straight into Malcolm's jaw. He stumbled, but he was stronger. He recovered fast, got me in a headlock, and started squeezing. My throat burned. Black spots danced in my vision. My knees buckled. That's when I heard it. Sirens. Close. Getting louder. We need to go. Now, Valeria yelled, panic cracking her voice. Malcolm dropped me, gasping, and scrambled for the gun. But the sirens were right there. Multiple cars. They bolted for the back door, just as the front door burst open and cops poured in. I pointed weakly. Back door? Malcolm. Valeria, I rasped. Then chaos. Police yelling. Guns raised. Footsteps pounding down the hallway. Hands gripping my shoulders, asking me if I was okay. I could barely talk through my bruised throat. Someone called out from across the room. We found a phone, still recording. Someone else must have called the ambulance. I don't even remember hearing it arrive. I was still on the kitchen floor, dazed and bruised, my throat aching from where Malcolm had tried to crush the life out of me. The officers told me later that they caught Malcolm just 2 blocks away, trying to hotwire a neighbor's car. He hadn't gotten far. Valeria made it further. She always did, but they found her at a bus station 3 towns over, trying to buy a ticket with cash under a fake name. Anya was safe. She had been the whole time. When she got my text, she'd immediately shown it to Grace's mom, who, thank God, called it in without hesitation. They'd already had eyes on the house, monitoring it in case Malcolm showed up. They were waiting. I'd had no idea how closely they'd been watching us. how seriously they took the threat. Thank God they did. The investigation stretched out over months. I gave them everything: my phone, Valeria's second phone, the photos, the screenshots, the recordings. And as they dug deeper, the truth spilled out like rot from a cracked foundation. They found 4 more girls. 4. Valeria had groomed every one of them. 2 had even been sold to Malcolm clients, if you can call them that. They were recovered, both of them, but, God, I can't begin to imagine the therapy they'll need. Valeria got 15 years. Could have been less if she cooperated, but she didn't. She stood in court and looked the judge in the eye and said she'd done nothing wrong, that she was helping these girls find their power. Malcolm? He got 25 to life. Turns out this wasn't his first rodeo, just the latest in a string of operations stretching back years. Different names, different cities, same pattern. Anya and I went to therapy too. A lot of it. Individual sessions. Joint sessions. There were weeks where we barely talked at home and only found common ground in that quiet office with the tissue box between us. She blamed herself for falling for Valeria's lies, for not seeing through the manipulation. I blamed myself for ever bringing that woman into our lives, for trusting too easily, for missing the signs. But our therapist, Dr. Renu, she helped us reframe it. Told us over and over, this isn't your fault. Predators like Valeria, they don't show up with warning signs and red flags. They show up with kindness, with charm, with exactly what you think you've been missing. She was right. Valeria had studied us, found the softest places and pressed just hard enough. She'd learned exactly what buttons to push. She didn't just manipulate Anya. She manipulated me. But we survived. We fought back. And that's what matters. It's been a year now. Anya's 17, talking about colleges, writing essays about psychology and resilience and trauma recovery. She wants to help other kids who've been through something like this. Help them heal. She's dating again. A nice boy from her SAT prep class, nervous handshake, flowers in hand, calls me sir. I try not to scare him too much. We still do movie nights on Tuesdays. Still hit the farmer's market on Saturdays. But now our conversations run deeper. Trust, manipulation, consent, red flags, gut instinct. One night, not long ago, Anya turned to me and asked, "Do you think you'll ever date again?" I smiled at her. Maybe. Someday. When it's someone who loves both of us. For who we are, not who they want us to be. She grinned. Just, maybe run a background check first. We laughed until the tears came. Real, cathartic tears. Because if this year taught us anything, it's this. The people who seem perfect are sometimes the most dangerous. The ones who slip into your life so easily, who seem to complete the picture, who know exactly what to say and when to say it. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And never, ever, ignore the changes in your kids' behavior. They might be trying to tell you something they don't yet have the words for. That's our story. Messy, painful, nothing like what I imagined our lives would be. But we made it. We survived it together. And that's what family does. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.